Hi FS faculty, this is Heather Burns with a brief video about a strategy I learned by participating in the AQ courses offered to faculty at HAC in the 23-24 academic year. AQ is the Association of College and University Educators. It's a national organization that offers online courses to improve our teaching. So at HAC, we had the opportunity to participate in 4 courses, 2 in the fall and 2 in the spring. The course titles were Promoting Active Learning Online, Designing Learner-Centered and Equitable Courses, then Inspiring Inquiry and Lifelong Learning in Your Online Course, and Creating an Inclusive and Supportive Online Learning Environment. The majority of the coursework was focused on online teaching, but many of the techniques I learned can be implemented in all modalities. So I'm going to do a series of brief videos to show you several strategies and tools I learned. The first strategy or tool I'm going to talk about would be what AQ called skeletal notes. And I've always called these notes worksheets or guided notes. And I know many of you may use a similar tool. I've been using guided notes or notes worksheets for years, but I learned a few tips to improve my notes worksheets in the first course from AQ. I learned that it might be more useful to ask students questions on the notes worksheets, because I ask students to use the notes worksheets when they are reading the chapter, and then you also use the notes worksheets when they hear my lectures, which with my online classes would be videos, or face-to-face and remote classes, it would be in our class session. So I give them the notes the week before we're reading the chapter or dealing with the topic, ask them to use the notes worksheet when reading the chapter, then bring the notes worksheet with them into class or use as the module opens to go through the online course pages and fill in anything they didn't get from their reading. So I always had these as sort of an outline, asking students to fill in short phrases or complete phrases, but I learned that asking students to answer questions could be more effective because hopefully they are reading more carefully to find the answers, and it's more of an active learning technique to answer questions rather than simply copying information from the text. So here's an example from my FS 101 class on Chapter 1 of our OER, and you can see the topic areas are underlined and then questions about those areas I expect students to find from doing the reading or watching my lecture videos. I often include things like graphics and charts to ask them to fill in. Again, just a little bit more of an active activity when they're reading. And then after students have read and interacted with the module information, I ask them to look at typical quiz questions, TQQs. I decided to put the TQQs at the bottom of each version of the guided notes or notes worksheets. And I tell students, after you have done the reading, you've listened to the lecture or been in a class, then you should be able to answer the TQQs. And I've made all of the TQQs open-ended questions, which usually is a little more difficult than the true-false or multiple choice format I use on actual quizzes. And again, I tell students, if you can answer these open-ended TQQs, you have the knowledge to succeed with questions that may be in a simpler format of true, false, and multiple choice. And here's just a second example, also from FS 101. where again you see the chapter topics are outlined here with questions for students to answer, and then TQQs at the bottom. So I hope this is a useful tool, even if you already use a version of guided notes or notes worksheets. Maybe you'd want to consider turning your items into questions to assist students in looking for the answers. And perhaps you'd consider using something like TQQs, or if you give tests, they can be TTQs, to help students prepare and self-gauge their knowledge before they actually take a quiz or a test.